The huge council chamber buzzed with the voices of 47 different alien species. Admiral Zektar of the Vorthon Empire stood tall on his speaking platform. His thick scales caught the bright lights from above as he looked across the room, filled with strange creatures from across the galaxy. Some floated in water tanks while others stood on multiple legs or hovered using energy fields. The air smelled of different atmospheres mixed together through the life support systems. Zektar raised one of his forearms to get attention. The room slowly became quiet as hundreds of eyes and sensors turned toward him. His voice was deep and commanding when he spoke. Council members, I come before you today with an urgent matter. The humans have built a colony on Kepler 442b. This planet sits directly in our territorial space. They must be removed immediately. A ripple of nervous sounds moved through the chamber. Councillor Yathara of the Aquarian Federation rose up from her biopod. Water dripped from her see-through body as she moved. Her voice made bubbling sounds as she spoke. Admiral Zektar, you speak of humans as if they were just another species. Have you forgotten what happened the last time someone tried to harm them? Zektar's mouth parts clicked together in a dismissive way. Counselor, what warnings? These humans have only been traveling in space for 200 years. They have no advanced weapons like our plasma cannons. They have no energy shields like our barrier systems. They have no quantum drives like our fastest ships. What could such a primitive species possibly do to the mighty Vorthon Empire? The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Many of the smaller species moved closer to their protective escorts. Elder Thane of the Zerian Collective slowly stood up from his meditation spot. His crystal body was ancient and scarred from thousands of years of life. Small lights pulsed inside his transparent form as he spoke. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Young Admiral, you will sit down and listen carefully. You will learn why every star chart in the galaxy marks human space with warning symbols. You will understand why every military database labels them as off-limits. You will discover why every colonial expansion plan goes around their territory, instead of through it. Zektar wanted to argue, but something in the elder's tone made him sit down. The chamber became completely silent. Even the background hum of the life support system seemed quieter. Elder Thane began to speak again. 300 years ago, my people made first contact with Earth. We thought the humans looked weak and divided. They fought wars among themselves over small pieces of land. They used chemical rockets to barely reach their own moon. Their weapons were simple bullets and explosives. We believed they would be easy to conquer and control. The elder paused and his crystal body dimmed. We were wrong. Terribly wrong. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy on the planet Kepler 442b, Captain Jake Morrison walked through the main corridor of the New Horizon colony. The settlement was small but growing. 800 humans had made this world their home just 3 months ago. Children ran through the hallways playing games while their parents worked in the various facilities. Morrison was a solid man in his early 50s, with graying hair and calm blue eyes. He had served in the Earth Defense Force before accepting the job of colony commander. The morning report sat in his hand as he walked toward the command center. Everything seemed normal. The agricultural domes were producing food ahead of schedule. The mining operations had found rich deposits of rare metals. The fusion reactors were running at peak efficiency. He entered the command center where Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez sat at the sensor station. She was young and eager, fresh out of the Space Academy on Earth. Her dark hair was pulled back in a regulation ponytail as she studied the readings on her screen. Good morning, Lieutenant. How do the sensors look today? Morrison asked as he approached her station. Rodriguez looked up with a puzzled expression. Captain, I'm picking up some strange energy signatures on the long-range sensors. They appeared about an hour ago. Morrison felt a small chill run down his spine. What kind of signatures? Unknown vessel types, sir. The computer can't match them to anything in our database. They're big, though. Much bigger than anything we've ever built. Morrison moved closer to look at her screen. The display showed several large contacts at the edge of their sensor range. They were moving in formation toward the planet. How big are we talking about, Lieutenant? Rodriguez checked her readings again. Based on their energy output and sensor reflection, I'd estimate they're Dreadnought-class vessels, sir. Each one is probably 3 times the size of our largest ships. Morrison's jaw tightened. 3 months into their new life on this beautiful world, and they were already facing unknown visitors. Are they broadcasting any identification codes or communication signals? Negative, sir. Complete radio silence. Morrison studied the display for several minutes. The unknown ships were definitely heading toward their planet. Their formation looked military in nature. Lieutenant, I want you to keep monitoring those contacts. Let me know immediately if anything changes. Yes, sir. Morrison walked to the main communication console and opened a channel to all sections of the colony. All department heads, please report to the command center immediately. This is not a drill. Within minutes, the command center filled with the colony's leadership team. Dr. Lisa Park represented the medical staff. Engineer Ben Taylor ran the technical systems. Security Chief Carlos Martinez handled colony defense. Agricultural Director Helen Foster managed food production. Morrison pointed to the sensor display. People, we have visitors. Unknown ships approaching our planet. They're large and they're not talking to us. Dr. Park studied the screen with concern. Captain, could these be the survey ships we requested from Earth? Maybe they're just running silent for some reason. I don't think so, Doctor. These ships are much too big and they're coming from the wrong direction. Earth ships would approach from the galactic core side. Security Chief Martinez stepped forward. Sir, what are our defensive options? Morrison sighed. Limited. We have the colony's shield generator, but it's designed to protect against meteors and solar radiation, not military weapons. We have some small defensive satellites, but nothing that could stop a real warship. Engineer Taylor looked worried. Captain, if these are hostile forces, we might want to consider evacuation procedures. Where would we go, Ben? Our transport ships are designed for colonization, not evacuation. They're slow and lightly armed. If these visitors mean harm, running might just make things worse. The room fell silent as everyone considered their options. Finally, Morrison made his decision. We're going to wait and see what they want. If they're hostile, we'll face them with dignity. This is our home now, and we're not abandoning it without a fight. Rodriguez called out from her station. Captain, the unknown vessels are moving into orbit around our planet. They're taking up strategic positions. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The alien ships had positioned themselves to cover all possible escape routes from the planet. This was definitely a military formation. Open all communication channels, Lieutenant. All frequencies. Channels open, sir. Morrison took a deep breath and activated the transmitter. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the New Horizon Colony. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The response came quickly and the voice was harsh and commanding. Human vessel. This is Admiral Zektar of the Vorthon Empire. You have established an illegal settlement in our territorial space. You have exactly 1 standard hour to evacuate this planet completely, or we will commence bombardment operations. Morrison felt his blood run cold, but his voice remained steady. Admiral Zektar, according to our star charts and the Galactic Colonization Accord of 2387, this system is unclaimed territory. We have filed all proper documentation with the Galactic Council. Your documentation means nothing to us, human. We claim this system by right of superior force. Your people will evacuate immediately or face the consequences. Morrison looked around at his staff. These people had trusted him to lead them to a new life among the stars. Now that life was being threatened by alien forces, they couldn't possibly fight. But something deep inside him refused to give up. Admiral, I'm afraid I cannot comply with your demands. This is our home now. Our people have families here. Our children were born on this soil. We are not leaving. The communication channel went silent. Morrison knew he had just signed all of their death warrants, but he also knew he had made the only choice he could live with. The Vorthon war fleet hung in space around the small human colony, like hungry predators surrounding their prey. 47 massive vessels had emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Each ship was a monument to Vorthon military power. Their dark hulls gleamed with weapon ports and shield generators. Energy readings from the fleet could have powered entire star systems. Admiral Zektar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small human settlement on the planet below. The colony looked pathetic compared to his mighty fleet. A few scattered buildings, some agricultural domes, and a single small spaceport. He could destroy it all with one shot from his main guns. Communications officer, open a visual channel to the surface, Zektar commanded. His voice carried the authority of someone who had conquered 12 star systems for the Vorthon Empire. The main screen flickered to life, showing the interior of the human command center. Captain Morrison appeared on the display. He was a stocky man with graying hair and steady blue eyes. Behind him, the command center looked busy but organized. Human crew members worked at their stations with calm efficiency. Zektar studied the human captain for a moment. Morrison showed no signs of fear or panic despite facing overwhelming odds. This surprised the Admiral slightly. Most species would be begging for mercy by now. "I am Admiral Zektar of the Vorthan Empire," he announced in his most threatening voice. "You have exactly 1 standard hour to evacuate this planet completely. If you do not comply, we will commence bombardment operations. Your primitive technology cannot protect you from our weapons." Morrison's expression remained unchanged. "Admiral, I am Captain Jake Morrison of the New Horizon Colony. I understand your position, but I must respectfully decline your demand. According to our records and the Galactic Colonization Accord of 2387, this system was unclaimed when we arrived. We have filed all proper documentation with the Galactic Council." Zektar's mandibles clicked together in annoyance. "Your documentation is completely irrelevant to this situation. We claim this system by right of superior military force. You will evacuate immediately or face total destruction." "I'm afraid that's not possible, Admiral. This world is now home to 800 human beings. We have families here. Children who were born on this soil. Elderly people who have made this their final home. We cannot and will not abandon them." The human captain's calm defiance infuriated Zektar. Lesser species usually cowered before Vorthan might. They begged and pleaded and offered tribute. This human was treating him like an equal in some kind of diplomatic negotiation. "Captain Morrison, you seem to misunderstand the situation. This is not a negotiation. This is a demand for unconditional surrender. You have no weapons that can threaten my fleet. You have no shields that can protect your colony. You have no escape route that we have not already blocked. Surrender now or watch your people die." Morrison was quiet for several seconds. When he spoke again, his voice was soft but firm. "Admiral, my people chose to come here knowing the risks of life on the frontier. We left Earth to build something better for our children. If we run every time someone threatens us, we'll never have a real home. I'm sorry, but we're staying." The transmission ended as Morrison cut the connection. Zektar stared at the blank screen in disbelief. No one had ever dismissed him so casually. The human captain had just signed his own death warrant and seemed completely at peace with the decision. "Sir, incoming transmission from the Galactic Council," reported his communications officer. "It's marked as urgent priority." Zektar's tactical display showed a new signal coming from the Galactic Core. "Put it through." Elder Thane of the Zerian Collective appeared on the screen. His ancient crystal body pulsed with urgent warning lights. "Admiral Zektar, you will cease all hostile actions against the human settlement immediately. This is a direct order from the Galactic Council. Elder Thane, with all due respect, the Galactic Council has no authority over Vorthan military operations. These humans are trespassing in our space. Admiral, the humans are under special protected status. Any attack against human civilians will have severe consequences for your entire species." Zektar laughed bitterly. "Protected by whom, Elder? These humans have been in space for barely 2 centuries. They have no allies and no advanced technology. What protection could they possibly have?" Elder Thane's crystal form dimmed with what looked like sadness. "Admiral, they are protected by every species in the galaxy that values its continued existence. Please, for the sake of your people, stand down immediately." "I am Vorthan," Zektar declared proudly. "We bow to no one. We fear no one. These humans will learn to respect our power." He cut the transmission and turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare to fire a warning shot. Target their main agricultural dome. Use minimum power. I want to scare them, not kill them all immediately." The weapons officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, are you certain this is wise?" The elder seemed genuinely concerned about, "Are you questioning my orders?" Zektar's voice turned deadly cold. "No, sir. Targeting the agricultural dome now." On the planet's surface, Morrison stood in the command center watching the tactical display. Lieutenant Rodriguez monitored the alien fleet's movements from her sensor station. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Captain, the lead vessel is powering up its main weapons," Rodriguez reported quietly. Morrison activated the colony-wide communication system. "All personnel, this is the captain. Take shelter in the emergency bunkers immediately. This is not a drill. Move quickly, but stay calm." Throughout the colony, families grabbed emergency supplies and headed for the underground shelters. Parents carried small children while older kids helped their grandparents move to safety. The evacuation was orderly but swift. Dr. Lisa Park was in the agricultural dome checking on the hydroponic systems when the evacuation order came through. She started to leave but noticed that old Henry Walsh was still tending to his tomato plants. "Henry, we need to get to the shelters now," she called out. The elderly farmer looked up from his work. "Doctor, these plants need water or they'll die. Just give me 5 more minutes. Henry, please. The aliens are about to attack. I've been growing things for 70 years, Doctor. I'm not about to let some space bullies kill my plants." Dr. Park grabbed Henry's arm gently. "The plants can be replanted, Henry. You cannot." Before Henry could respond, the sky above the dome filled with brilliant light. The Vorthan plasma bolt struck the agricultural dome with devastating force. The transparent aluminum walls vaporized instantly. The hydroponic systems exploded in clouds of superheated steam. The beautiful gardens that had taken months to establish were destroyed in seconds. Dr. Park found herself thrown against the far wall by the explosion. Her ears rang from the blast and her vision was blurry. She could smell burning plants and melted metal. When her sight cleared, she saw Henry lying motionless near what had been his prized tomato plants. She crawled over to him despite her own injuries. Henry's clothes were burned and his breathing was shallow. "Henry, can you hear me?" The old farmer opened his eyes weakly. "The plants, Doctor. Did they survive?" Dr. Park looked around at the devastation. Nothing had survived the plasma blast. "They're fine, Henry. Just rest now." Henry smiled peacefully and closed his eyes for the last time. Morrison arrived at the destroyed dome within minutes of the attack. Emergency teams were already searching through the wreckage. 17 colonists had been killed instantly, including Henry Walsh and 6-year-old Lucy Chen, who had been helping her father in the gardens. Captain Morrison knelt beside the small body of Lucy Chen. The little girl had been excited about her first successful lettuce crop. Now she lay still among the burned plants she had loved so much. Security Chief Martinez approached quietly. "Captain, we're receiving thousands of incoming transmissions. Ships are dropping out of hyperspace all across the system." Morrison looked up from Lucy's body with tears in his eyes. "What kind of ships, Carlos?" "Human ships, sir. More than I've ever seen in one place." Captain Morrison stood in the smoking ruins of the agricultural dome, holding the small body of Lucy Chen in his arms. The 6-year-old girl had been excited about her first lettuce crop just that morning. Now she lay still and cold while the burned remains of her plants scattered in the wind around them. 17 colonists had died in the plasma blast. 17 people who had only wanted to build a new life among the stars. Dr. Lisa Park limped through the wreckage trying to help the wounded. Her medical training kept her moving despite her own injuries from the explosion. The smell of burned metal and destroyed plants filled the air. Emergency teams worked frantically to search for survivors, but the plasma bolt had been too powerful. Most of the victims had died instantly. Morrison gently placed Lucy's body on a stretcher and covered her with a blanket. His hands shook with rage as he looked up at the alien ships hanging in orbit above them. The Vorthan fleet looked peaceful from this distance, but he knew they carried enough firepower to destroy his entire colony. "Captain Morrison." "Sir?" called Security Chief Martinez as he ran toward the destroyed dome. "You need to see this immediately." Morrison followed Martinez to the command center where Lieutenant Rodriguez sat at her sensor station with a look of complete amazement on her face. The tactical display showed something that should have been impossible. "Captain, I'm reading massive numbers of ships dropping out of hyperspace all across the system," Rodriguez reported with excitement in her voice. "The sensors are having trouble counting them all." Morrison stared at the display in disbelief. Where moments before there had been empty space around the Vorthan fleet, now there were contact symbols appearing everywhere. Not dozens of ships, not hundreds. Thousands of vessels were materializing out of nothing. "Lieutenant, what kind of ships are these?" Morrison asked quietly. Rodriguez checked her readings again to make sure she was not making a mistake. "Sir, they're broadcasting Human Defense Force identification codes. I'm seeing 3rd Fleet transponders, 5th Fleet, 7th Fleet, and 9th Fleet. Captain, these are our ships." "That's impossible," Morrison whispered. "The nearest human fleet is 6 months away at maximum drive speed." The main communication screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of a massive warship. Admiral Susan Hayes appeared on the display. She was a tall woman with steel-gray hair pulled back in a severe military style. Her eyes held the cold fury of someone who had fought in wars across the galaxy. Behind her, the bridge of humanity's largest dreadnought hummed with deadly purpose. "Captain Morrison, this is Admiral Susan Hayes commanding the Human Defense Force Pacific Fleet. We monitored the attack on your colony. I am deeply sorry for your losses. Morrison struggled to find his voice. Admiral Hayes, how did you get here so quickly? Earth is 6 months away, even using our fastest quantum drives. Admiral Hayes smiled grimly. Captain, what do you think humanity has been doing for the past 2 centuries while the rest of the galaxy thought we were playing with primitive rockets and chemical engines? We have been preparing for exactly this situation. Preparing how, Admiral? Every human colony has a quantum beacon transmitter hidden in its power core. The moment your agricultural dome was attacked, every ship in the Human Defense Force received an instant notification. We have been ready to respond to threats against our civilians for over a century. Morrison looked at the tactical display again. The number of human ships kept growing as more vessels dropped out of hyperspace. Admiral, how many ships do you have out there? Current count is 3,407 vessels, Captain. More fleets are en route from 17 different star systems. We should have over 10,000 ships in your system within the next few hours. The number was staggering. Morrison had no idea humanity possessed such a massive fleet. Admiral, I thought our entire space navy was maybe a few hundred ships at most. That's what we wanted the galaxy to think, Captain. While other species focused on building bigger and more powerful individual ships, we focused on building lots of smaller, faster, more maneuverable vessels. Quality through quantity. On the bridge of his flagship, Admiral Zektar watched his tactical display with growing horror. The human ships were not just appearing randomly. They were taking precise formation positions around his fleet, perfect geometric patterns that spoke of incredible coordination and planning. Sir, the human fleet is moving into attack formation, reported his tactical officer with obvious fear in his voice. Their coordination is unlike anything I have ever seen before. How many ships are we facing? Zektar asked quietly. Current count is 3,407 vessels, sir. Long-range sensors indicate additional fleets approaching from multiple directions. Zektar felt his confidence crumbling. He had expected to face a few primitive human patrol boats. Instead, he was surrounded by the largest fleet ever assembled in known history. What are their weapons capabilities? Unknown, sir. Their ships are not using any recognizable technology. No plasma cannons, no particle beams, no quantum torpedoes. Our computers cannot identify their weapon systems. Admiral Hayes opened a communication channel to the Vorthan fleet. Her voice was calm but carried an undertone of absolute authority. Admiral Zektar of the Vorthan Empire, this is Admiral Susan Hayes of the Human Defense Force. You have attacked our colony. You have killed our civilians. You have murdered our children. You have exactly 60 seconds to surrender your fleet unconditionally. Zektar's pride flared despite the impossible odds he faced. Human Admiral, you may have superior numbers, but we possess advanced technology that your primitive species cannot match. Our shields can withstand any weapons you might possess. Admiral Zektar, you have 50 seconds remaining. Our plasma cannons can destroy entire planets. Our quantum drives are faster than anything in your fleet. We are Vorthan. We fear no one. 30 seconds, Admiral. Zektar looked around his bridge at his crew. They were all staring at him with expressions of terror. The tactical display showed human ships moving closer in perfect formation. Still, his pride would not let him surrender to a species he considered inferior. Admiral Hayes, we reject your demands. We are prepared to fight. Time is up, Admiral Zektar. The human fleet moved as one entity. What followed was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was a demonstration of precision that defied belief. The humans did not use energy weapons or exotic technologies. They used simple kinetic projectiles, chunks of metal accelerated to tremendous velocities by magnetic launchers. But the accuracy was terrifying beyond description. Each Vorthan ship found its weapon system surgically removed without damage to the rest of the vessel. Main gun turrets were sheared away as cleanly as if cut by giant scissors. Shield generators were plucked from their mounting points and sent drifting into space. Engine pods were disabled without touching life support systems. Zektar watched in amazement as his flagship's primary plasma cannon barrel floated past the bridge viewport. It had been cut so precisely that the metal edges looked polished. How is this possible? He whispered. His tactical officer looked up from his console with wide eyes. Sir, they hit every weapon system on every ship in our fleet simultaneously. The targeting accuracy required for such precision is mathematically impossible. What about our shields? The kinetic projectiles passed through our shields as if they were not there. Sir, they knew the exact frequency and phase of our shield generators. Admiral Hayes opened the communication channel again. Admiral Zektar, your fleet is now completely disabled, but your crews are unharmed. This was a demonstration of restraint, not weakness. However, you killed 17 of my people. One of them was a 6-year-old child who loved to grow vegetables. Zektar found his voice somehow. What do you want from us? Justice, Admiral. You will be taken to Earth to stand trial for war crimes against civilian populations. Your crews will be repatriated to your homeworlds with a very important message. What message? Admiral Hayes' expression became deadly serious. That humans are no longer to be considered easy targets. Attack our military ships if you must. Challenge our territorial claims if you dare. But if you ever again harm human civilians, if you ever again kill our children, we will come for you with everything we have. The communication ended, and Zektar slumped in his command chair. His mighty fleet had been neutralized in less than 20 minutes without a single human casualty. He began to understand why Elder Thane had tried to warn him. Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge of the massive human dreadnought Washington, watching the disabled Vorthan fleet drift helplessly in space. Her steel-gray eyes showed no emotion as she studied the tactical display. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Commander Tony Martinez monitored communications while Commander Sarah Blake handled fleet coordination. Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from 38 of the 47 Vorthan vessels, reported Martinez. The remaining 9 ships are maintaining communication silence, but their weapon systems are completely offline. Hayes nodded slowly. Any casualties among our forces? None, Admiral. All human ships report green status across the board. The precision of the attack still amazed Hayes, even though she had planned it herself. The Human Defense Force had spent decades perfecting their kinetic weapons technology. While other species focused on energy shields and plasma cannons, humans had quietly developed mass drivers that could place projectiles with surgical accuracy. Commander Blake, status report on the Vorthan fleet. Blake checked her readings carefully. Admiral, all enemy vessels are disabled but intact. We removed their weapons, shields, and propulsion systems without damaging life support or crew quarters. Estimated Vorthan casualties are 0. Good. Open a channel to Admiral Zektar. The main screen showed the Vorthan Admiral sitting in his damaged command chair. His usually proud bearing was gone, replaced by obvious shock and confusion. Behind him, his bridge crew worked frantically to restore basic systems. Admiral Zektar, this is Admiral Hayes. Your fleet has been neutralized. Do you wish to discuss terms of surrender? Zektar looked up at the screen with disbelief in his eyes. Admiral Hayes, how did your weapons penetrate our shields? Our barrier technology has protected Vorthan ships for centuries. Hayes smiled coldly. Admiral, we have been studying galactic technology for 200 years. We know the frequency patterns of every shield system used by every major species. Our kinetic projectiles are designed to pass through energy barriers without disruption. Impossible. Our shields operate on classified frequencies known only to Vorthan military engineers. Admiral, 3 of your former military engineers have been working for human intelligence services for the past 50 years. We know more about your technology than you do. The revelation hit Zektar like a physical blow. Human spies had been operating within Vorthan space for decades without detection. What do you want from us? Justice for the 17 civilians you murdered, Admiral. You will accompany me to Earth to stand trial for war crimes. Your crews will be returned to Vorthan space with a message for your government. Meanwhile, news of the confrontation was spreading across the galaxy at light speed. On the crystal world of Zerion Prime, Elder Thane received reports from his observers throughout the star systems. The ancient being had lived through the rise and fall of dozen civilizations, but the human response impressed even him. Counselor Vex Ani, compile a full report on the human fleet capabilities, Thane commanded his aide. I want detailed analysis of their weapons, tactics, and coordination systems. The younger Zarian studied the incoming data streams. Elder, the humans deployed over 3,000 ships in perfect formation within minutes of the attack on their colony. The coordination required for such a response suggests a level of military preparation that we never suspected. Indeed. What have our intelligence services reported about human military capabilities? Our agents have been monitoring human space for 50 years, Elder. All reports indicated a small defensive fleet of perhaps 200 vessels maximum. We found no evidence of the massive military infrastructure revealed today. Elder Thane's crystal form pulsed with troubled light. then the humans have been deliberately concealing their true strength from galactic observation. This suggests long-term strategic planning on a scale that rivals our own. Back in the human fleet, Admiral Hayes was coordinating with fleet commanders across 17 different star systems. The quantum communication network allowed instant contact across vast distances. Admiral Chen reported in from the Centauri sector, while Admiral Johnson provided updates from the Tau Ceti region. Admiral Hayes, this is Admiral Chen commanding 7th Fleet. We have secured the outer system perimeter. No Vorthon reinforcements will reach this area. Acknowledged, Admiral Chen. Admiral Johnson, what is your status? Admiral Hayes, 9th Fleet has established patrol routes along all major hyperspace lanes leading to Vorthon territory. If they attempt to send additional forces, we will intercept them long before they reach the colony. Hayes was pleased with the coordination. Years of secret planning and preparation were paying off perfectly. All fleet commanders maintain current positions. I want a defensive sphere around this system that nothing can penetrate. Lieutenant Commander Martinez looked up from his communication console with concern. Admiral, we are receiving priority transmissions from governments across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what just happened here. What are they saying, Commander? The Aquarian Federation is requesting immediate diplomatic contact. The Klingari Empire wants to negotiate new trade agreements. The Hegemony Council is asking for military cooperation treaties. Admiral, everyone is suddenly very interested in establishing better relations with humanity. Hayes understood the implications. For 2 centuries, human space had been largely ignored by the major galactic powers. Humans were seen as a young, weak species with little to offer the established civilizations. That perception had just changed dramatically. Commander, route all diplomatic requests through Earth Central Command. Tell them we will respond through proper diplomatic channels after this situation is resolved. On the planet's surface, Captain Morrison was overseeing the evacuation of wounded colonists to the human medical ships that had arrived with the fleet. Dr. Park worked alongside human military medics to treat the survivors of the plasma blast. The contrast between human military efficiency and the small colony's resources was striking. Morrison approached Admiral Hayes via communication link from the Planetary Command Center. Admiral, the colonists want to know if it's safe to begin rebuilding the agricultural dome. Captain, you can begin reconstruction immediately. This system is now under permanent protection of the Human Defense Force. No hostile force will threaten your people again. Admiral, I have to ask, how long has humanity been preparing for something like this? Hayes paused before answering. Captain, the moment we made first contact with alien species, our leaders realized we would eventually face threats that could destroy our entire civilization. We have spent 2 centuries building the military infrastructure necessary to protect human colonies anywhere in the galaxy. And the other species never suspected? Captain, we told them exactly what they wanted to hear. That we were peaceful explorers interested only in science and trade. Meanwhile, we built shipyards in hidden asteroid belts and trained crews in secret facilities. We let them think we were weak while we became stronger than any of them imagined possible. Admiral Zektar was escorted aboard the Washington under heavy guard. As he walked through the corridors of the human dreadnought, he was amazed by what he saw. The ship was clearly more advanced than anything in the Vorthon fleet, despite appearing primitive from the outside. The holding area where he was placed was comfortable but secure. Through the viewport, he could see his own disabled flagship drifting helplessly nearby. His crew was being transferred to human transport, vessels for the journey back to Vorthon space. A human guard brought him a meal and a data pad containing information about his upcoming trial on Earth. As he read through the legal documents, Zektar began to understand the true scope of human civilization. They had courts, laws, and legal procedures that rivaled the most advanced species in the galaxy. The datapad also contained historical information about human military conflicts. Zektar read with growing amazement about wars fought with incredible savagery and determination. Humans had been fighting each other for thousands of years before reaching the stars. Their military experience was vast and hard-earned. Finally, Zektar understood why Elder Thane had tried to warn him. Humans were not the weak, primitive species they appeared to be. They were apex predators who had learned to hide their true nature until threatened. The galaxy had just learned a lesson that would be remembered for centuries to come. 6 months had passed since the Vorthon attack on the New Horizon colony. Captain Morrison stood in the rebuilt agricultural dome watching children play among the growing plants. The new dome was larger and more advanced than the original, built with materials provided by the Human Defense Force. A memorial wall near the entrance bore the names of the 17 colonists who had died in the plasma blast. Little Bobby Chen, Lucy's younger brother, ran between the tomato plants chasing a butterfly. His laughter echoed through the dome as other children joined the game. Morrison smiled sadly as he watched them play. Lucy would have been 8 years old now if she had lived to see the new dome. Lieutenant Rodriguez approached with a datapad in her hands. She had been promoted to commander after her excellent work during the crisis. "Captain, we just received another formal apology from an alien government." That makes 43 species who have officially apologized for past hostile actions against human colonies. Morrison took the datapad and read through the latest message. The Hegemony Council was offering substantial trade concessions and promising to respect all human territorial claims. "Any word from Admiral Hayes about the trial?" "Yes, sir. Admiral Zektar was found guilty on all charges by the Earth Tribunal. He received a sentence of 20 years in prison for war crimes against civilian populations. The Vorthan government has officially accepted the verdict and agreed to pay reparations to the families of the victims." Morrison nodded with satisfaction. Justice had been served for Lucy and the others who died that day. The trial had been broadcast across the galaxy, sending a clear message about the consequences of attacking human civilians. On Earth, Dr. Ellen Price stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council in the Great Chamber on Geneva Station. She had been recently appointed as humanity's first official ambassador to the galactic community. Her background in both diplomacy and military science made her perfect for the challenging role. The chamber was packed with delegates from every major species in known space. The atmosphere was tense as everyone waited to hear humanity's official position on galactic relations. Dr. Price walked to the central speaking platform with confidence and dignity. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council," she began in a clear, strong voice, "I stand before you today as the voice of humanity. 6 months ago, our species was largely ignored by galactic civilization. We were considered weak, primitive, and unimportant. That perception has now changed dramatically." Elder Thane of the Zerion Collective watched from his meditation pod as the human ambassador continued her speech. His ancient crystal body pulsed with approval as he listened to her words. "My species has always believed in a simple but fundamental principle," Dr. Price continued. "You can attack our military forces. You can challenge our territorial claims. You can even defeat our fleets in battle. We understand that conflict is sometimes inevitable in galactic politics. But if you harm our families, if you kill our children, if you target our civilian populations, we will never stop coming for you." The chamber remained completely silent. Every delegate understood the implications of her words. Humanity had revealed military capabilities that surpassed every other species in the galaxy. "We do not want to rule the galaxy," Dr. Price said firmly. "We do not want to conquer your worlds or control your governments. We simply want to live in peace and raise our families without fear. But that peace comes with a guarantee written in blood and steel." She paused to look around at the faces and forms of the assembled delegates. Some looked afraid, while others showed obvious respect for humanity's newfound position. "From this day forward, human colonies and civilian populations are off limits to all military action. Any attack on human non-combatants will be considered an act of war against all human space. We will respond with overwhelming force, and we will not stop until justice is served." The Aquarian Federation delegate raised a tentacle to ask a question. "Ambassador Price, what about conflicts between human military forces and other species? Are you claiming immunity from all warfare?" Dr. Price smiled slightly. "Counselor Yathara, we make no such claim. Human military personnel accept the risks of their profession. Our warships can be attacked in legitimate military conflicts. Our soldiers can be targeted in combat situations. We only demand protection for our civilian populations." Elder Thane activated his speaking platform. "Ambassador Price, the Zerion Collective formally recognizes humanity's right to protect its civilian populations. We pledge that no Zerion vessel will ever target human non-combatants." One by one, other delegates rose to make similar pledges. The Klingari Empire, the Hegemony Council, the Tau Federation, and dozens of smaller species all formally agreed to respect human civilian immunity. Back on Kepler 442b, The colony continued to grow and prosper. Earth had sent additional settlers, scientists, and a permanent defense garrison. The small spaceport had been expanded to handle larger ships. New residential areas housed families who wanted to build new lives on the frontier. Commander Rodriguez walked through the bustling colony center observing the changes. Children attended school in new educational facilities. Adults worked in expanded research laboratories and manufacturing plants. The colony that had once been threatened with destruction was now thriving under the protection of humanity's revealed strength. She stopped at the memorial wall to read the names of those who had died. Lucy Chen's name was engraved in letters of gold, along with the others who had paid the ultimate price for human expansion into the galaxy. Fresh flowers were placed beside each name every day by colonists who refused to forget their sacrifice. Dr. Lisa Park approached the memorial carrying a small bouquet of roses from the new flower garden. "Commander, I bring flowers for Lucy every week. She loved helping me plant things in the old dome." Rodriguez watched as the doctor placed the roses beside Lucy's name. "Dr. Park, do you think she would be proud of what we've built here? I think she would be amazed by the butterfly garden we created in her memory. She always loved chasing butterflies through the plants." Across the galaxy, the story of the Vorthon attack and humanity's response spread from system to system. In Vorthon space, the new government that had replaced Admiral Zektar's faction worked hard to establish peaceful relations with human colonies. Trade agreements were signed and cultural exchange programs were established. The crystal archives of the Zerian Collective were updated with new information about human capabilities. Under the entry for Homo sapiens, the classification now read, "Species status deceptively peaceful. Extreme protective response to civilian threats. Military capabilities exceed all known parameters. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact for any interaction. Consider completely off-limits for all hostile operations." On distant worlds throughout the galaxy, alien children learned new lessons about the species called humans. They were taught that humans appeared friendly and peaceful, but possessed hidden strength that could destroy entire fleets. Most importantly, they learned that humans protected their families with a devotion that bordered on religious fervor. The warning spread through every military academy, every intelligence service, and every government database in known space. It was whispered in 1,000 different languages, but the message was always the same. Humans are off limits. Even we don't dare harm them. Captain Morrison stood in his office looking out at the colony he had helped build. Children played safely in the streets while their parents worked to create a better future. The threat of alien attack was gone, replaced by the certain knowledge that humanity would protect its own at any cost. A communication came in from Earth Central Command. New colonies were being established on 17 different worlds. The age of human expansion had truly begun, backed by military might that no alien species dared to challenge. Morrison smiled as he watched Bobby Chen run through the gardens chasing butterflies just like his sister Lucy used to do. The little boy was growing up in a galaxy where human children could play without fear. That legacy was worth all the struggles they had endured to achieve it.